I think firstly you need to have a good website, and you need to have good information on there. Take the time to do that. And my analogy is, if you're not watering your plants every day or every week, they're going to die. And a website and an online presence is pretty much like that. People never go to places where the information isn't fresh or where they're not getting value out of. So just imagine if Sydney Morning Herald didn't publish any new news today, people would not be there to find out what's going on. And it's the same thing. Why are we interested in people on Facebook or businesses on Facebook is because they're giving us some value or teaching us something or sharing some information that may be of value to us. So a good website, being found, I think is a really key aspect. So people think, I've got a website, I'll be found. Probably was 10 years ago.
And who can help us with that, Ian? What was your company name again?
SHBC found.
So is the message really to focus, in areas where you can be consistent?
Yes,
focus and generate communication. So perhaps, correct. Depending on the size and scale of your business, it might not be let's be everywhere. It might be, let's pick where my real market is and just be consistent with the communication.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I think to add to that mix, you'll definitely need to do some sort of social media, and that varies from Google Plus right through to Facebook,
right? Excellent.
And so on.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? Yes.
Eric, as a business advisor, what would you say would be the most common question that your clients may ask?
What would be the most common question being asked to us? Being show me the money organization. We actually got show me the money partners here. Yes, there are actually a lot of questions, but in terms of, I guess, business development, marketing and sales, one of the most common questions is, Eric, we want to obviously improve our revenue and all that. How much can we spend? Do you know how much can we spend and how much can we afford without destroying our cash flow, and we can actually make that work? And the other thing is, if we spend that much, what would it mean to our bottom line? Because I heard a lot of these organizations spending money and then basically got no return on their investment. Those are the key questions. Just give you an example in terms of the answers to show me the money. People actually got answers. One of the examples is basically professional services. They got pretty well-established client. They want to increase their revenue by having additional staff. We work it out. Really, the earning capacity for that staff is $210,000. We know if we make it work, basically, if we do it right, one third to the profit, they will not be too bad because $70,000 will be going to the bottom line. We also know roughly we got $70,000 to contribute to other overhead. So very interestingly, some of the comment here is talking about branding and talking about retail marketing, we call it, which is product and service branding, basically identity of the company. So what we have done is we rebrand a bit, because traditionally that company focused on tax services. So now we want to go into accounting services. So we say, all right, we are going to allocate basically $40,000 budget in overall marketing. We actually split it half-half. $20,000 for rebranding. So people and current client will know the additional services they are providing. The other $20,000 is basically working with marketing expert and basically work out what is the best way to communicate the additional service to actually gain client. So this one way, and there's million and one way. The other example is in trade area. We know with one of the clients we have, with the current resources, they actually have 5 field staff. With their utilization, we know basically they can increase their revenue by $100,000 without any increase in variable costs and minimum increase in other costs like petrol, parking, and all that. So basically, we know if we can make it work, potentially could be $90,000 drop to the bottom line. So what we have done is we actually spent $30,000, 1/3 of that, in marketing budget. And once again, we work with marketing expert. We have to look at various things to make that happen. We work out how many clients we need. We know their average earning per client is like $700. So we know how many clients we need. And then basically we work out who are our target market, and how are we going to reach them. As one of the panel say, you got to know who are your customers, and we work with them accordingly. So Good question. To us are two basically real example. How do we go about in establishing that? And then we actually work with them, measure the result, and we adjust the marketing effort accordingly.
There is in fact a process to look at how much we should spend on marketing, and there's some analysis that we can do around that. Because in reality, everybody put up their hand and said, I want to increase business development, I want to increase sales, I want to increase my kind of return. But surely then it's just as simple as spending more on marketing and getting more salespeople, isn't it? It's not, is it? It's because it's not always effective, and we need to ensure that we get a return. And Eric's outlined how you need to do that analysis, and he raised a whole thing about their return on investment, measuring sales return, and also we need to look at then, do we actually get, in terms of the marketing and sales activity, put an actual return from that? So Kim, in terms of that perspective, with a company name like yours, how do we measure return on marketing spend?
Yeah, there's a few different ways of doing it, and that's probably the most common thing I see in business. People don't actually measure it. So a lot of businesses have a cycle that goes like that. You try and get customers, you're busy, you stop business development, cycle goes down like that. So what I try and do with people is implement different channels so there's a continuous flow of leads. And the most important thing is to actually track where the leads come from. It sounds really simple, but some people find it complicated to do it. It can be as simple as using website analytics to do that, and just asking people who contact you where they came from. Then when you know where they came from, you know how much you spent to get them there, divide that, that'll give you a cost per lead. And every time you do a marketing spend on a campaign, whether it's $100 or $10,000, look at the number of leads or sales you got from that so you can actually measure the ROI and keep a history of that. And over a year, you'll have a very good idea on what gives you the best return. So the idea to me is by the end of the year, you should have 10 to 12 different channels, different ways to get customers. If you rely on one way, that can change. As Ian says, the internet changes all the time, for example. People may not find your website. You may not be able to come to business breakfast, so you may not get referrals. People change how they do business, so you have lots of ways to get customers, but you need to know what the cost per customer is, both your existing and new customers.
What's the recommended sort of guide to how often you should measure? Is it monthly? Is it, you can spend so much time measuring that you're not doing other stuff, but,
analysis paralysis.
For it to adjust as well. So
absolutely. I look at things on a monthly basis, just measuring that, and then review it quarterly with clients.
When is it appropriate to rebrand? So I've got a brand, and I've had a brand for a period of time. When do I need to refresh that brand?
There are many reasons why a company would rebrand, but over the course of any business, a business will often change. So where they are now is not where they started. So they may have started with one service, but that service has changed and has developed over literally the period of development. So when the brand no longer accurately reflects the nature of the business, that's time to look at addressing your brand. Now, it may be a revolution or it may be an evolution, and there's a big difference, and often rebranding can be as simple as adding a positioning statement, changing a positioning line, and evolving the current brand so that it's just more relevant. What a lot of people see as rebranding is changing the look. It's less about the look and more about the strategy of clarifying a message. And often the rebranding process will add clarity not only to your clients, but importantly to the people you work with, so your staff or your team members. So it also adds a great deal of clarity to the business itself, and it can be transformational.